Photo voice was one of the critical methodologies that shaped our action research. This method enabled us to understand the situations and sites of practice and facilitated micro-mobilization, dialogic ideation, and action framing. It is a method that has the potential to connect across different phases of action research. We applied photo voice as a methodology in two sites of practice in the village Kanyikovil near Erode. One was with children in the local communities near Huga seed keepers, and the second site was with children of a particular class in the government school in Kanyikovil. First, I will be explaining the photo voice processes that took place with children in the local community setting. To begin with, we started collaborating with the children who were living near Huga farm. There were 7 children initially and 5 more joined the group in a week's time. At least one member of their family used to work in the paper mill nearby, and that is how they started visiting Huga farms. The parents of these children had migrated from neighboring regions of Europe such as Theni, Madurai, Kodaikanal, etc. and had settled here since a long time. The very nature of the migrant identity had induced another layer of vulnerability in these economically poor households. These children were aged between 7 to 16 years old. They knew each other well and had a comfort level which contributed to an enabling group climate. It must be noted that we did not plan to work with children at the beginning of our fieldwork. We intended to work with farmers and seed keepers alone. However, during our initial field visits, we understood the potential children have to sustain knowledge about heirloom seeds and climate action. These children showcased immense curiosity about what happened during our fieldwork, voluntarily accompanying us to farming households, participating in seed sorting activities, etc. In a sense, we were working on their future, and they indirectly expressed that they had a more significant stake in participating towards sustainable futures. Through the multiple action research workshops conducted at the university, our students were trained in using photo voice as an action research method in the field as well. Later in the field, it emerged as a suitable method to work with children. Nevertheless, the selection of the technique in this specific context was in itself an emergent characteristic. Once we decided to take up photo voice to collaborate with these children, we shared the idea with the children as well. All the children gave their names and consent to participate in the photo voice process. Their parents were also interested in what their children were planning to do. We also explained to their parents the larger purpose of the photo voice process and got their oral consent. At the community level, we organized the photo voice process into 4 sessions, which can be summarized as Session 1, knowing each other, Session 2, orientation to photo voice, and Session 3, following nature, Session 4, reimagining the images. So now let us go session by session. The first session, knowing one another, aimed to develop rapport with children and their families. We tried to understand their hobbies and interests and played innovative group games. We placed 2 face-to-face children and 1 stone in the middle of each pair as an ice-breaking activity. The game rules were that when the facilitator said head, shoulder, and knees aloud, the children had to touch the head, shoulder, or the knees respectively. But when the facilitator says toes, children must take the stone before them. Whoever gets the stone will score 1 point. It was an engaging and attention-seeking activity too. On day 2, the children came together at a specific time. We oriented them on the purpose of the photo voice and the ethics around clicking photos of both humans and non-humans and of not inflicting any harm. And we also did a piloting with mobile phones as cameras, taking photos and exploring further how the quality of images we capture could be perfected. On day 3, the children came very eagerly to take the photos. There were 12 children and we organized them into 3 groups consisting of 4 children each. In terms of both age and gender, each group was a heterogeneous one. Each group was assigned a team leader, the eldest member, to provide appropriate direction to the younger members. Each team named their groups as Roja, which means rose flower, strawberry, and Tamarai, which means lotus, respectively. Each team also had a student co-researcher as the facilitator. One student also volunteered as a note taker for the whole process. The critical question that guided the whole enquiry was, how does climate change affect you as a person, your family, communities, surroundings, plants, animals, and so on? However, the translation of climate change was initially too vague for these children. As non-Tamil speakers, we also mistakenly translated climate change into Kalanilai Matram, which hinted at seasonal changes to the children, rather than Parvanilai Matram, which was connected to climate change as such. It was after the first round of photo taking that we realized this mistake, and we were able to resolve it through continuous dialogue and enquiry with the children. Since the children in the group were from different age groups, each facilitator tried to include and listen to each of the children and balance the emerging group dynamics among them while taking the pictures. It was difficult for the facilitators to be silent when the children struggled to understand the concepts. Sometimes when they diverted from the central theme, the facilitators helped them stick to the specific theme. Now let us explore the stories told by each group of children. The group named Roja focused a lot on nature, its benefits, difficulties, and adjustments made due to non-traditional ways of living and possibly climate change. The group members pointed at different plants and took photographs, citing their medicinal uses. The group also narrated instances where nature withstood the test of extreme weather events, such as drought and water scarcity, or where nature herself was unable to adapt to these events. Further, they compared adaptation to modernization. They clicked pictures and narrated the irony of how fish moved from ponds and seas to smaller homes into our aquarium tanks. The group members participated equally, although the oldest member, Jamuna, who is of 16 years of age, took the initiative in most instances. The group was quickly able to arrive at a consensus. The children of the group Strawberry were more aware and shared their understanding of different flora, their unique qualities, and their uses. They took photos of Tulsi, a herb for relieving cold and flu-like symptoms, and another plant that could reduce pimples. They also explained the health benefits of water collected in the stems of plankton trees. However, they were concerned about water scarcity and its impact on the dried plankton crops. Their idea of change was more connected to transitions happening over time in their own lives and their surrounding spaces. They discussed their observations on how families shifted from natural healthy foods to junk foods and increased plastic usage and pollution. Their stories also reflected how nearby water bodies pollution affects both humans and non-humans alike. Though they could not comprehensively explain their inferences on climate change, they were eager to explain the entangled nature of their everyday lives in an ever-changing environment. They knew considerably about the local environment, though climate change was quite difficult for them to articulate in the same manner. Continuing their discourse with water scarcity, they remarked that in the past they have seen lots of buckets and pulleys that were used for manually drawing water from the well. However, today there is rampant use of diesel-run motors and plastic pipes for irrigation, which actually extract a large quantity of water from the aquifers, thus impacting climate vulnerability too. For the third group, Tamarai, which means lotus, some of the indicators of climate change were drought and dry weather, water scarcity, and dried plants all over the terrain. Children reflected upon how their mothers have prevented them from playing during summers due to the unbearable heat in the previous years. While taking a photo of a broken roof of a hut, they shared their concern for the lives of the poor if it rained heavily, where such families had to suffer more. This made us reflect on how climate change limits the joy of childhood and human relations. They also believed that factors such as burning plastic waste, industrialization, changes in lifestyle, and more use of vehicles have resulted in the present global crisis. There were interesting discussions on what cooking was good for one's health. While one child observed people in the community have reduced cooking using local adupu or stoves that consume fuel wood, they are also more dependent on the gas stove these days. Followed by which another child commented the traditional method of using twigs and fuel wood was better as the chances of catching fire were less. However, this was countered by another child who believed that the chances of fire and burning of plastic were higher in the case of the local stoves, while this has been reduced with the use of LPGs. The child also said the pollution from fuel wood burning has resulted in a lot of health problems for their mothers. However, for all the three groups, a significant concern was the water pollution caused by a paper making company in their village. They believed that the discharge from the company was affecting the water quality in the area and had been causing health and related issues for humans and non-humans in the proximity of the company. In this regard, it was interesting to note that children connected climate change with humans and other living beings like fish, plants, and trees. When one among them pointed out the impact of polluted water on human life, another kid said that the impact is not just on humans but also on the fish who live in the water. These children also observed that rising water scarcity in the region had forced many people to quit farming and seek employment in non-farming sectors. On day 4, the children came together to organize the photos they took, categorizing and captioning them, prioritizing them, and attempting to make meaning out of the whole process. Some of the photographs and their captions are given in the following slides. The second site of practice was a government school where children were within the four walls of the school. Thus, this site of practice was entirely different from an open community setting, having the routine power structures interplaying with the dreams and photo making abilities of the children. However, the difference in such a setting also gave important insights on the differences between how structural and non-structural adaptation to climate change will be as well. The school is located around 2 kilometers away from Huga Farms. Students in this school come from mixed socio-economic backgrounds in and around Kanjikovil. The school campus is small but quite green, and we felt the green environment is conducive to the students' learning. To begin with, we visited the school and interacted with the principal and teachers on our purpose and the possible activities that could be done in connection with those. The teachers were also interested in the photo voice, although they were unaware of these methodological processes. They assigned 3 consecutive half days from their academic calendar for us to conduct the sessions scheduled for the following week. The principal asked us to conduct the activity with one class. Initially, we thought of choosing children from the 6th standard. They were more enthusiastic than the rest. However, our interactions with the children in the community during the photo voice sessions revealed that we would require more time and energy to work with these children than children of a higher standard. Therefore, we purposefully selected the children of the 8th standard. The teachers discussed among themselves and allocated the students of 8C for the same. There was a total of 33 students in the class. However, only 26 children volunteered to participate in the photo voice process. We conducted the ice-breaking session on the first day and organized them into different groups. Due to limited time, we could not work an ice-breaking session as extensive as that we conducted with the community children. We gave them a brief orientation to the proposed photo voice on the first day when they introduced themselves. The children were also asked to watch a few videos or ask elders about climate change before participating in the activity the next day. On the second day, we continued our discussions on climate change to understand their prevailing knowledge on seasonal changes, global warming, and pollution. When we realized that the children could comprehend the basic science of climate change, we moved to the next phase of photo voice. We organized the 26 children into 4 groups with a facilitator for each group. Each group consisted of around 6 to 7 children. Each group selected a name for them, which were winter, summer, spring, and moon respectively. They were instructed to click pictures related to what they perceived as related to climate change or its impact on humans and non-humans. Realizing from the previous photo voice activity conducted with the children in the community, facilitators were more flexible and open about the topic, followed by which each group went outside their classrooms and began to click photos using mobile phones. The students used these phones provided by the facilitators to take the photos. We were not allowed to take them outside the campus and they had to find frames within the limited proximity of the campus. Therefore, the children had difficulty finding different frames than those in the open community, and the pictures of different groups almost seemed repetitive. Further, each group came together to discuss and select 10 to 13 pictures from the larger stock of photos taken. Students also found it challenging to give captions for the selected photographs due to the rigorous and disciplinary environment surrounding them. Our agency was also limited in addressing these issues, and consequently in some groups they lost interest and only one student ended up writing the caption. The children had very little time to present on the same day. Instead, children just read out the caption they wrote. We had to wait for the reflection process and storytelling with the children in the community the next day. The children could ruminate on the given topics a little more on the second day. This helped in the prioritization and selection process of the photographs. When each group got together to select their final 10 images, they had better reasoning and creative explanations. The final images they selected eliminated the images that they now felt were irrelevant to the topic given. The process stopped being about personal preferences, that is, who took which photographs, and the theme's suitability instead. Their short captions to describe each picture were also unique and expressed more profound reflections. The exercise did take a little longer, but all members of the group did participate. They interacted with each other more effortlessly and worked as a team to come up with a suitable caption for the beautiful images. On the third day, the presentation happened. Each group presented their pictures with explanations in the larger group. We sat in a circle and the children shared the stories they knew about climate change. Most of them shared stories from their grandparents about climate change. The insights they gave on climate change and local knowledge were rich, and we were wondering about the kind of knowledge we got from them as we got from the older adults in the community. Across all the groups, we found that children were very much concerned with different types of birds dying due to the high towers that are located across the farmlands, as well as the power lines and the mobile towers, which affect the flight of the birds. The photo voice exercise provided us with rich theoretical insights. A critical posthumanism perspective guided this methodology, which revealed the dynamic living entanglements between different actors, specifically children and the rest of nature, and how they interact with objects, be it the camera, the photographs, or other non-humans in the ecosocial worlds. Each one had specific agencies that shaped the co-creation of meaning and characteristics of the ecosocial worlds. Our students during the fieldwork presentation shared their experiences as follows. The term climate change was too vague for the children to understand, and due to language barrier, we could not convey the exact meaning. As soon as we realized this, we showed 2 videos on climate change. Then they were asked to share what they knew about climate change. Their replies mainly were about lifestyle changes and seasonality or trends associated with them, and a little bit about the change in the climate. Still, it was a little confusing for them. They could not fully comprehend the idea of climate change, even though this region was fragile and exposed to extreme weather events. So we changed the guideline to click photos on any issue that you think is closely connected to you and nature. Thus, photo voice, keeping in mind the principles of action research, was also guided by reflective practice.
I would like to know, among the diverse methods you used, which methods did you find to be most insightful and useful?
So we had used a like lot more methodologies. We used transect work. We started with transect work. Then we did seasonal calendar. So then we did movie screening and photo voicing with children. So my favorite was photo voicing with children. It was interesting. We divided ourselves to like group of 4. We had given different names like Tamare based on what the children suggested. Then we went with them. We also showed up. I think we showed up documentary on climate change, just to give an orientation about what is climate change. Then we went with them to the field. So they were also capturing local knowledge, mostly, and some of the medicinal plants. They had stories to tell about those medicinal plants. So it all happened naturally. And we also felt at the end that the photo voicing, even though we were supposed to capture the, about climate change and the children's perspective of climate change, it also happened that we were also able to capture the local knowledge of the community through the methodology called as photo voicing. So we were also reflective about the potential that this methodology has with respect to different aspects. Yeah, covering this different aspects.
Over these 4 days, we witnessed how they conceptualize their ecosocial worlds, the mutual entanglements between humans and non-humans, and the problems complicating these entanglements further. We also saw their creative approaches as they let go of their earlier inhibitions. The photo voice session was especially an opportunity to learn with fun because the children in each group of different ages bounced their ideas from each other. We learned about their repositories of local knowledge and perspectives on climate change and changes in the local cultural practices. We also learned about language and meaning making's crucial role in climate action. Photo voice also revealed the young generation's future aspirations. Yet another critical unintended consequence of the photo voice process was the volunteerism and environmental responsibility these children began to exhibit post the photo voice project. These days, the children visit the farm every weekend to contribute to the heirloom seed conservation project. They participate in identifying seeds, sorting them, and in the process learning the qualities of each seed and plant. A seed club was established in the school post the photo voice process. There are plans by the respective department of the state government to replicate these processes in 400 other government schools in the district. Seeing how their understanding of climate change evolved from a vague idea to a more profound and broader understanding through the photo voice was interesting. Since most of their family members also did farming there, The children's local knowledge of nature was diverse and rich. Thank you, Climate You.